What's up, Hoosier Nation? The Rock Report coming back with you guys. Episode 6 of the Rock Report. Thank you all for tuning in. Uh, we've got Maryland this week. The Hoosiers are 4-0. Big home game to go 5-0 versus 3-1 Maryland. Maryland's 3-1. They've won a game versus UConn, Virginia, and Villanova. Pretty close loss to Michigan State over there, 27-24. But let's kind of dive into this matchup this week.
Yeah, I think this Maryland team is probably the best talent that we've faced so far this season. I think especially up front on the defense, you see some, good size. Their quarterback, he's been around for a while. Billy Edwards Jr. He came into a couple games that we played them in years past when Tagovailoa got hurt, but he's played in a significant amount of snaps every year that he's been there. I really feel like this might be a close game for the Hoosiers. I mean, this is a good test, and whether we blow them out or not, I think we're going to see some talent that's really going to put us in a good place going forward the rest of the season.
Yeah, and let's kind of start off with this Maryland offense. The dynamic duo of Billy Edwards and Ty Felton. More so, Ty Felton is what's really running that offense. Anyone could throw it up to him, I'd say. But Ty Felton, I mean, he's got 604 yards, 41 catches, and 5 touchdowns on the season. Arguably the best wide receiver in the Big Ten, obviously number one in yards, top three in the country in yards. But he is a great player, kind of big frame. Billy Edwards was able to find him. He's thrown 8 touchdowns on the season. 5 of them have been to Ty Felton. But it's an explosive offense. Um, but we do have the defensive backs, kind of D line to give him a nice pass rush to kind of mitigate his explosiveness.
Yeah, Ty Felton's a guy I would probably expect to see go late day one or early day two in the draft this coming year. Dude's really a weapon for Maryland and has been for the past few years, especially special teams. He's been a returner for them in the past, and I think that's especially in a game like this where you're expecting rain all day. You're not really expecting any booming kicks, and to give this guy space is going to be a problem for the Hoosiers. So I think offensively and on special teams, we really got to keep this guy to minimal yards.
Yeah, and that's kind of that run game of Maryland. Maryland does have a weak O line. They kind of are on that lower side of the Big Ten offensive line. Um, but I think with the rain, they're gonna have to run the ball. It's a big test kind of for the Hoosiers up front, but I'm looking forward to that kind of run defense against kind of a lower level defensive line.
Yeah, I feel like last week we saw Isaiah Jones struggle a little bit, and he's a guy that, came out of high school fairly well recruited, but not the biggest guy. And I really think last week, was a good test for him to really learn what he needs to do in coverage because I feel like his run defense has been great. And this is one of those weeks where he's going to have to play both the run and the pass. Maryland's going to have good tight ends and a pretty solid running back core. So I feel like seeing him and Aiden Fisher step up this week and make big plays is going to be essential for the Hoosiers to get a W.
Yeah, I'm really looking on forward to these kind of matchups outside, more so D'Angelo Ponce, Josh Sanguinetti, all those corners out there versus passing offense of Maryland. But let's go over to the Maryland defense, Hoosier offense, talk a little about that. This is a game that the Hoosiers are going to need to score points to kind of win this game.
Yeah, I mean, off the bat, this defensive line is going to be a problem. We've got, a fairly inexperienced O line in there right now. And these are big dudes. Signetti said it in his presser the other day that this is the biggest D line we've seen so far. We struggled with them last year, and it wasn't even close. I mean, there was a game that Indiana got blown out because we couldn't even get a ball off. So really looking for Bob Bostad to get his crew on top of things. Hopefully, look at the film from last year, get a good read on some tendencies of what these D linemen are going to do.
Yeah, and the big thing straight off of film that you can see is these D line wear single digits. That is not a thing at many schools. They have a redshirt freshman playing defensive end, Avery O'Neill, wearing zero. Interior, Jordan Phillips and Tommy, can't really pronounce his last name, Akin Besoto. Jordan and Tommy have been there forever, 8 and 7. Can't miss them. It's a big task for kind of this interior of the offensive line. Two guys with really one Big Ten game under their belt, Bray Lynch and
Drew Evans.
Drew Evans. So it's just those two guys right there. Have one game under, but Mike Kadek's been in that kind of middle. He's been there for a while. He knows these guys on defense. Ruben Hypolite's back. I think it's his seventh year, might be sixth, seventh year at will linebacker number 4. So it's kind of it's not a new defense. There are many familiar faces, but it's a pretty big defensive line, pretty big linebackers, just a lot of speed on the edges.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Maryland defense that's returning 9 starters from last year and bringing in 2 transfers. So, do I expect the Hoosiers to, kind of have their will with this team like they've had with the teams the past 4 weeks? Probably not. Could it happen? Of course. I think, Shanahan's got a good thing going. I think Curtis Rourke really knows how to read the defense well. I think the issue when it comes to Big Ten play, especially some of these, I would call them non-blue blood teams like the Marylands, the Rutgers, they recruit skill. Their bigs aren't always the best bigs on earth, but they find guys, especially Maryland out of the DMV, that can play DB and can play receiver and are just fast. And the Hoosiers have struggled in the past with these kids.
Yeah, DMV is a huge recruiting hotspot. But
Hashtag
I'm
Coach
looking
Eddie.
for, yeah, hashtag Coach Eddie. My high school coach, my high school D coordinator's over on that staff, and he was a great recruiter in high school. Always took us on our kind of our all those like visits to a bunch of camps and stuff. But they heavily recruit the DMV. Obviously, that's where Maryland is, but they have a lot of athletes on that team. Looking forward to kind of a physical game. Hopefully, it doesn't rain. I want to see some big plays on both sides, but if it is nice rainy game, and we'll get into that, kind of talk about attendance with the rain. It's going to be an extremely physical game.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like rain all day, so I guess that just means a lot of ground game, which the Hoosiers have, kind of killed it the past 4 or 5 weeks. But I'm not too familiar with Maryland's run game. They've been a pass first team the past 4 or 5 years when Talia was there. We'll see if Loxley's got something under his belt. I know he recruits it hard, but definitely has not been their dominance in years past.
Yeah, Sean, let's do our predictions now, and then we'll dive into a little bit of NIL stuff that's been happening around the league. Fans are chiming into some stuff at UNLV, some stuff at USC, stuff's going on. But let's kind of give these predictions for this game. I'll let you start.
Yeah, off the bat, I'm thinking somewhere in the realm of like a 38-21, 38-24 Hoosiers. I think we see Indiana establish the run game early, pass the ball well, but I think overall this weather's probably going to get the clock ticking a little bit. I don't think we break 40 just because I'm not going to see much stoppages if it's raining all day.
Yeah, especially with that rain, I think we're gonna get a big game, run game on the ground. I'll put my helmet on, kind of. It's gonna start in the trenches for this game. Um, I think it's gonna be low scoring, unfortunately. I would love to see an explosive offense, but if the rain kind of holds, I only see touchdowns. I'm gonna go low scoring. 24 to let's give 9, 3 field goals for Maryland. That's my score,
Yeah.
24 to 9.
Okay, so here's the real prediction, which I think we should start doing each week. How many punts for James Evans this week?
I say 0.
Zero and
I say I
a
don't
low
think they're gonna.
scoring game.
I'd say 0 in a low scoring game. This is gonna be a gritty game where they go for it on fourth down on their own side of the field. But I'm saying 0 for James Evans.
I would probably say 3. I think the hard part is based on rain. If it's pouring the whole day, getting a punt off is a stressor for a coach. And the way our offense has been rolling, we'll probably be going for it a lot on fourth down. If it's a light rain, I think 3 is reasonable.
Fair enough. But let's dive into hashtag shrink the rock, hashtag pack the rock, hashtag it's gonna rain, hashtag do the fans show up,
Hashtag wet rock.
hashtag wet rock, hashtag ponchos in the stand. A lot of hashtags to throw around, but I mean, I think there is around 4,000 tickets left, but here's the thing also, we've seen in the past, if it is raining all game, Hoosier fans are going to show up and Hoosier fans are going to leave. And what do you think the expectation is for Hoosier fans? going to the game this
Oh,
Saturday?
prediction is a packed and humid Kilroy's in an empty stadium. I really don't see Hoosier fans staying through the rain. They never have. I just don't see this fan base really getting behind sticking around at the Rock through a storm. But you never know. Maybe they're selling some ponchos. Maybe Dolson's got some easy ups he's going to throw around the student section. Never know what could happen, but I don't trust it.
Yeah, I'd say the same. But let's most importantly, hopefully the rain doesn't hit Bloomington. I know that hurricane's just coming through Florida now, but hopefully on Saturday we don't get any rain in Bloomington. But if it does rain, I mean, we're going to see people show up at the beginning of the game, start raining, halftime, sitting there, probably going to head out. It's just what's going to happen. Um, Go watch in their tailgate under one of the tents, kind of a little pop up, stay out of the wet. But
I will be in the press box in a suite provided by undisclosed Hoosier booster. So not going to be in the rain, not leaving till the game's over.
fair enough. Well, let's hopefully they hashtag pack the rock this week. I know they're getting all those ticket sales out, so any Hoosier fans going to the game, stick through the rain. Hopefully it doesn't rain. But let's talk about it is week 4 of the season, 4 games through. If you don't play 4 games or less, you get to redshirt. We have been seeing some stuff going around. Let's kind of talk about the NIL situation over at UNLV. Give us give us your thoughts, Sean, kind of on that Sluka situation.
Yeah, so essentially what we saw is, you know, their starting quarterback enters the transfer portal week 4, takes his red shirt, comes out on social media that, he was promised 100,000 for the season, and then when he got there, it was, well, actually, here's a $3,000 stipend for, a 4-month period during the year. Then the school comes back and says, no, 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 we don't do pay for play. We didn't agree to that. I'm calling BS on that. Every school does it. And the reality of it is, this is the way NIL is. I'm not showing up to work if I don't get paid.
Yeah, and the big thing is I know a lot of people were saying kind of in the sports world, oh, I worked for free before I got my first paycheck. Unfortunately, this isn't an internship. This is college football, and nowadays it's a job. You are gonna get paid, and you kind of sign these kind of verbal agreements out of the portal. And you can't tell me, I don't care. I don't care about UNLV side. I don't care about the player side. You can't tell me that they recruited a starting quarterback out of the portal for a bag of chicken fingers. No, it's not a thing. They obviously something in there had an incentive that he was going to get paid. Um, Something in there, obviously, he's not getting what he thought. I don't blame him in this kind of era of college football. If you don't get what you want, you don't like it. Before those 4 games, get out, get a different situation. Kind of eligibility scarce, and you got to make the most of it.
Yeah, but also the issue here is you look at college football in general, right? You have all these schools trying to compete and, start NIL collectives and blah, blah, blah. Who the hell is giving money to the UNLV NIL collective? There's
That's
no
true.
way they have money.
Well, so my original thought with this collective is someone gave someone a lot of money. They took it to the casino. They're in Vegas, put it on black, red hit, lost it. That's why you can't get paid. But who knows? But it
You get
is,
that the sideline slot machine didn't hit.
yeah. And even if he's not getting, even if there was no actual promise, there may be something that he's not getting the opportunities he thought to use his NIL. There's not many like opportunities that he's been given. That's kind of maybe why he wants to get out. But I do think it is something that we're gonna have to live with. This is kind of new era of college football.
Yeah, and I mean on, the home team side here, we saw 4 guys today, red shirt, and I want to say 3 or 4 of the 4 are all paid for by our collective. All of them being previous transfers as well. whether from this staff or the old staff. So the reality of it is, this isn't something new. And I'm not saying that our guys didn't get paid. They did. I know that 100%. But there's no guarantees of, we're going to pay this guy and he's going to play the whole year, or the opposite, that I'm going to play the whole year and not get paid. I mean, it is what it is. If these guys aren't getting paid with what they're told, not there's no legal grounds because these are all one-way contracts, but you're just going to up and leave. But what I question though is, so the Hoosiers have four guys, right, that decide to take their red shirt and are then taken off the roster. Are they cut off from their scholarship that day, or is this a joint decision with the coaches that, they no longer serve a purpose for this team?
Yeah, and I'm not too sure about that answer, but it's one of those things kind of this Lucas situation is huge because he is your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
But kind of at a lower level, when you kind of see second string, third string guys who aren't getting the snaps they want, it's one of those things that they decided to transfer. Our instance, they decided to transfer to Indiana. They wanted to play football at Indiana. They didn't get the reps they want. 4 games in the season, it's kind of their only way to preserve eligibility is to
Yeah.
leave. It's gotta be.
Honestly, the player of the day right here, the third string running back that got 0 snaps for the UNLV team. As soon as all this blew up, he posted the exact same tweet the quarterback did. Clout level took off. I guarantee he gets a couple offers from it. So just ride the backs of the guy making all the media.
Yeah. And it's got to be, it is an interesting dynamic, I'd say, especially when you get a higher level player doing something like that. We saw Bear Alexander, USC defensive lineman. If you don't know any background of his kind of situation, he went to 4 high schools in 4 years, committed to Georgia, decommitted to Georgia, committed to Georgia, enrolled at Georgia, played a year at Georgia, hopped in the portal, went to USC for a year. This is his second year at USC. Um, he hasn't gotten the snaps he liked, entered the portal, but you had high school recruits I saw committed to USC posting like "Peace out, Bear." So it's things like that. Like it's kind of crazy
Yeah,
world.
that's not.
When you get a high level player like that, and you have his backups like on the team, like posting like um, not accepting his kind of red shirt, saying, "Oh, we don't need you. You're not even a team player." And it's a very weird dynamic that's going to happen in the locker room.
Yeah, I think, from our experience being in a locker room that's, had guys with some big time NIL and, guys with backdoor opportunities long before NIL, nobody talks about this type of stuff. It really is not in day-to-day conversations. No one knows the exact numbers that people get. It's all just kind of rumor. But as soon as a guy chooses to leave, you really see, well, unless the guy was a great dude and he had kind of grounds to do it. But if a guy just ups and leaves mid-season, which we've seen plenty of, the team kind of turns their back on that guy immediately, and it's, you don't want to ride out with us, we're not riding it out with you.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation. And obviously, it's a big locker room. No one's thrown out on the table. Oh, this is my check. This is what I got. This is what I got. There's no kind of comparison going on in the locker room. But the second a player stands out and it is like, oh, I'm playing too well. I didn't get more money. They put themselves kind of in the spotlight, which creates a very weird dynamic. And it's kind of how does another coach, if you hop in the portal, how do you view a player who does this? He just quit on his team because he didn't get an extra $20.
Yeah. Speaking of, you mentioned players throwing their check out on a table. We got to talk about Dan Dakich complaining that basketball players are going to bars in Bloomington. I mean, at some point you got to get a grip, dude. They're in the off season. It does not matter at all. And in season, I really don't care. If they win a Saturday night game and they don't play again till the following Thursday, let loose for a little bit. I mean, NFL players are doing this, NBA players are doing this. It's just absurd to think these guys are gonna spend their off season sitting in their dorm room.
Yeah, I mean, you saw a few years back, kind of Sterling Shepard, OBJ, Victor Cruz. They're on a yacht in Miami in the middle of a bye week. Um, it's Kilroy's. Like, who's stopping a player in the offseason going to the bar? And I don't really know any backstory on Dan Dakich. Um, don't really know much about him, but I just see his tweets, how negative they are towards IU basketball. And it's like one of those things, obviously, the basketball players see it. Like, they're not like, they don't care what you say, but he means it. Like the TikTok dances. Malik Renew was dancing out to practice, and he was like, "I thought this was a women's basketball player." It's just like, what goes through your head daily to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna wake up and let me complain about IU basketball."
I've come to terms with the fact that the IU fan base is split into three categories. You've got the people that love it no matter what. You've got the old heads that, wish that things were the way they used to be, and the only way to do it right is every program should be exactly like Bob Knight did it. And then the third group is the we hate Indiana football. We're only going to basketball games, and then we'll go to Notre Dame football games in the spring or in the fall, sorry. But it seems like Dan falls into kind of that second category where he believes that unless the shorts are just below the groin level and socks aren't knee height, then this isn't a good brand of sports, good brand of basketball.
Yeah, I'm glad I kind of fall in, I'll say, a fourth category. I'm an IU football fan. No matter what happens to IU football, I'll always be an IU football fan. Um, I like watching IU basketball. I don't really care what recruit they get, who they get, if they win a game, if they lose a game. It's not gonna I'll never be that deep in any sport. But it's weird. That's what I'm gonna describe it as. It's weird.
It's
That's the
it's
only thing I
it's
can say.
genuinely like you have to have issues. Like people are asking for Mike Woodson to get fired over not getting a 17-year-old high school basketball recruit. To me, that is absolutely absurd. Like, I understand in the greater scheme of things, you need good recruits, but it's nuts. You're gonna fire a coach over a recruit? I mean,
Yeah,
come
it's just weird. That's all I can say. Anyone who tweets at a player for doing something, anyone who, if you're not supporting someone, if you're not saying good job to a player, good luck to a player, great play here, great play this, great catch, great shot. If you're tweeting at anyone in a negative tone, in a negative landscape, it's just weird. And it's like if you follow this like what he says and agree with it, whoever it is, any fan, not just Dan Dakich because he's big guy, verified, got all these followers, but it's just flat out weird.
I think the crazier part is this kid, I don't even know his name, commits to Notre Dame, and Indiana fans are commenting on his post, like just hating on the kid. I mean, he's a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
It's absurd. I mean, what is wrong with you that you're like, I'm 50 some years old. Screw this 17-year-old kid. He should come to Indiana basketball. I mean, you're nuts.
Just no, it's
It's
blasphemy
crazy.
actually. It's I hope anyone listening to this kind of side you have to side with us. You have to side with the players. You have to support the players. You should never look down on a college kid as a grown adult. It's just flat out weird. But we have big game this weekend, Maryland. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah. So last little note on that. I promise you, fans, none of the basketball players are seeing your tweets and saying, geez, this lady from Ellettsville said I shouldn't be at the bar. God, I should really stop going to Kilroy's. I promise they don't care at all.
No, and it's not just basketball, it's football, it's every sport. Um, it's just basketball players are put on a higher pedestal because there's only five guys on the floor not wearing a helmet. I think 13 guys on the team. It just doesn't make sense to me to shoot anyone down for any decision they make in life.
Yeah, and I think football is one of those sports that you're blessed a little bit because you can play a full game as a starting quarterback, go to a bar afterwards, and half the bar might not know who you are. If Trace Jackson Davis walks to a bar, he's a little harder to miss.
Yeah, I do want to touch on this one note just one time. Speaking of kind of recognition, Mike Kadick, I mean, he texted me a picture at Chili's, and I was like, "What'd you get?" And he sent me his order, um, which was supreme quesadilla salad. I don't know how you get a supreme quesadilla on a salad. He got one of those 3-bite entree things, three different things. But he gets home and immediately there's a tweet that someone saw him at Chili's. Like that is just crazy.
I think one, he's a hard guy to miss. That build is something special, but also he's got to be the only guy on earth that is one going to Chili's and two ordering a supreme quesadilla salad.
Yeah, I just thought it was hilarious. If you see Mike, good friends, we've lived with him for 4 years. Um, Amazing friend of the pod, amazing person. If you see him out in public, buy him dinner. He'll appreciate it. Give him a little slap on the shoulder, buy him a drink.
Can't drink it. Can't drink. Can't drink. The fans don't like him. Don't like the
Fair.
beers.
Well, that's a wrap on week 5 of Indiana football. Go Hoosiers.
Yeah, just kind of finishing up here. We've got a big announcement coming soon. We're partnering with a huge podcast brand that, Hoosier fans are going to know as soon as we release all this. You guys are going to kind of love what we're doing. And it's going to be a lot easier. We're going to open up on a lot more platforms and hopefully get some, big time guests on here that go along with this new platform. But that'll be kind of in the coming weeks. Thank you guys all for listening. Shrink the rock, keep the rock dry, and go Hoosiers.